friend, bub. But I'm dying to find out what's inside.
What's going on, everybody? You found Bottom Tier Collector, and I'm your host, the Bearded One, bringing you a top tier story, Wolverine 4, from a bottom tier reader. So, if you are newer to the channel, this is the 4th episode in my Wolverine review series. I would love it if you'd go back and get a refresher on the first 3 issues if you are so interested in doing so. If not, if you're just here for one issue, thank you as always for liking, subscribing, commenting, and let's get into it. So, we're immediately thrust into the scene in Madripoor where, and I'm going to go ahead and say right up front, there are 3 Vietnamese, and they appear to be accurate Vietnamese names in this comic book, and I'm going to try and pronounce them for the sake of the story, the sake of the review, but I'm not Vietnamese. It's pretty obvious to see that I'm not. I don't know Vietnamese language at all, so just bear with me on these names. So, someone of importance, I didn't really get a lot of clarification on who this person was. It felt like he was possibly the mayor or maybe a city councilman type of person in Madripoor, but I'm not sure. Regardless, someone of importance named, bear with me, Raman Marian, I think is his name. Raman Marian is his name. We'll just keep it there, and I'm just going to call him Ram for the rest of the review. He's being chased down by somebody we're not aware of yet. Somebody with incredible power. Has the ability to punch like entire buildings down. This guy's really powerful, possibly a mutant. I suspect he's a mutant of some sort. And he comes in contact with the guy he's running away from. This guy of immense power reveals to be Roundhouse and Bloodsport, who's on the cover here. Here's Roundhouse down here, and Bloodsport is up here. They murder Ram, and we're taken to the next scene, and it just sets up. This whole book sets up like a classic movie from the 40s, 50s, or 60s. I mean, it just has that vibe. Very crime noir heavy, even heavier than the first 3 issues of Wolverine. We're taken to the crime scene, the police investigating, and like I said from issue 3, I believed I was going to see a lot more of the police chief of Madripoor. Here we go again. We're seeing the police chief of Madripoor having some dialogue with Patch. He's Wolverine, obviously, but everybody knows him as Patch because he's trying to cover up his identity. I'm not aware, and I'm just going to explain this for people newer to the series. The X-Men are presumed dead, and so I guess whatever is going on in Uncanny X-Men at the time this book is being written, that is why Wolverine is being disguised as Patch in this series. And so we're talking, we're having some dialogue with the police chief and Patch about Ram's death. Patch kind of relaying some messages to the police chief about who his suspects are, about who could be at play here, and then Wolverine's on the trail. If you know anything about Wolverine or Patch, he has a sense of smell where he can track, kind of like a dog. He can catch the scent of somebody, and it helps him track them. He knows kind of where they're at in their vicinity. So he knelt down beside the dead body of Ram to pick up some scents. And he's, again, like I said, he's on the trail, and it leads him to the Sovereign Hotel. And while that scene is playing out, we're taken to kind of a cutscene, if you will, just short page where a Roundhouse and Bloodsport attack and torture some kind of a pilot in Madripoor. The scene is not really clear, but it definitely feels like Bloodsport and Roundhouse are making a chess move here. They're putting their ducks in a row to make whatever they're doing in Madripoor, make it more effective, I guess. They torture this pilot, and Bloodsport puts his hand. This is where we see Bloodsport's power. He puts his hand on the chest of the pilot, and I assume when the pilot wakes up, his chest starts glowing from the handprint on his chest, and Bloodsport mentions that his heart now belongs to Bloodsport. So Bloodsport has some kind of a mind control, body control type of power. But then we're taken back to the scene of Wolverine going into a hotel. It's the Sovereign Hotel, the most expensive, extravagant hotel in Madripoor. And he slips into the room of General, I hope I get this right, Ngin Ngak Koi. General Ngin Ngak Koi. I'm just going to call him General Koi from now on, but that's his name. Slips into General Koi's room and immediately wakes up, startles a sleeping Xian Koi Man is her name. I'm just going to call her Miss Mon from now on. But he tells Miss Mon about General Koi, what's at play here. He tells her that he knows Miss Mon has been with Ram, the person who was murdered earlier in the book, and that she needs to pick a side because the chess moves are being played, and she's going to be caught up in the crossfire if she doesn't, and it's going to help her figure out whose side she's on. And Wolverine warns her of that and slips away. We're then taken to the bazaar, the Grand Bazaar in Madripoor, where it's kind of a lighthearted scene. It's kind of not some comedy relief, but it's kind of it's just kind of a change of pace from the dark, violent scenes that the book is set up on. We're introduced to old friends again, Lindsay McCabe and Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman. And they're in the bazaar shopping. Lindsay McCabe gets offered, I guess, a live squid, and she's freaked out. It's supposed to be this cute little scene, and in comes Roundhouse. He sexually assaults the two ladies. He hugs them. He flirts with them against their will, pretty much. They didn't ask for the flirting. And, he's just a typical scumbag, right? This guy definitely would have been a victim of the Me Too movement in 2023. Total misogynist. And he hugs Lindsay McCabe and Jessica Drew and kisses them against their wills. Total sexual assault, right? And Jessica Drew's ready to fight, but Lindsay McCabe says, come on now, let's not do this here. This guy is a big dude. We don't need to fool around with this guy. Bloodsport's also telling Roundhouse, hey, we're not here for this. We're not here for fleshly pleasures, as Bloodsport calls it. And he gets back on the mission at hand in jarring fashion. I was kind of surprised to see this. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. This lady steps out of the shadows and screams murderer at the departing Roundhouse and Bloodsport, and she's covered in blood. It sends Jessica Drew into alert. She goes and does her Spider-Woman things, crawls on buildings and whatever, and the trail leads her to a scene of a brutal slaughter. Gang members are dead, lying in a destroyed building. And on the wall, I assume written in blood. The blood is usually colored in black in this book, I guess to make it a little more family friendly, not as gory and rated R as some of these scenes are portrayed to be. Tiger is dead, is what's written on the wall. I assume it's written in blood, but I'm not too terribly sure. And Jessica Drew's like, oh man, we've gotten right into the middle of a gang war. And that takes us to the Princess Bar, where Wolverine, Jessica Drew, and Lindsay McCabe meet up, and they're going over their notes or whatever, and I think they're putting pieces together. And in walks Tiger. I didn't realize she was Tiger at first, but she walks in, and we're getting a lot of exposition, a lot of plot explanation here, and Tiger employs Patch to be her escort to, I forget her destination. It's so exposition heavy. It's just easy to forget things. And in the middle of their journey, their car ride, Roundhouse ambushes the car and punches the car, flips it over, and Patch and Tiger immediately are confronted by Roundhouse. Got a really cool action scene here. Finally, a little bit of action here, and it just a character-driven, exposition-heavy book. I really liked the fight between Roundhouse and Wolverine. Wolverine didn't hold back, and Roundhouse just really proved to be a powerhouse. Wolverine could not save the day. Tiger even had to defend herself against Roundhouse. Bloodsport then arrived on the scene to kind of finish off Patch and Tiger, but another mutant, I'm not really so sure who this mutant is, but she's definitely dressed up in X-Men garb. Shows up on the scene and allows whatever she does, her mutant ability, I assume, allows Wolverine and Tiger to escape. And Wolverine gets Tiger to either a hospital bed or just a bed in general. And Wolverine's basically explaining, I need to handle this on my own. You guys need to take Tiger and go underground and hide out. Obviously, the women want to help Wolverine. They're frustrated, but Wolverine's just like, no, you can't defeat this guy. I need to be the one to do this. The next scene sets up Wolverine's making his play. He says he's calling in. He's talking to a man that's been woken up from a deep sleep. He's angry at Wolverine. He's got a double-barrel shotgun aimed at Wolverine. And Wolverine says he's calling in Tiger's marker Corrigan. So I'm not exactly sure what that means. All this gang speak, all this slang makes it a little difficult to follow along. But I assume he's employing the help of this man named Archie to take down Roundhouse and Bloodsport. I assume Archie's going to play some kind of role in the next 2 or 3 issues with Wolverine. And that takes us to the final act, the final scene, back to the Sovereign Motel, where Roundhouse and Bloodsport check in with General Coy. They go over what's transpired in the book about how Wolverine and Tiger escaped, even though they perfectly ambushed them as requested. Coy gets a little frustrated, and as he's saying, we got to get rid of Patch, got to get rid of Tiger, in order to take control of Madripoor, we got to do these things. Typical villain scene. You failed me, get back out there. And while that's transpiring, the very last page is Miss Coy. She's so angry at what she knows about General Coy. Miss Mon, not Miss Coy, Miss Mon is so angry. She's so frustrated with General Coy. She knows she's got to take a side. We see her crushing a glass and her hands bleeding. She's got tears in her eyes. And she knows she's going to have to take a stand in this gang war. That will do me, guys. That is the issue. Very, very, very exposition heavy. I actually had to pause recording several times and go back and remember things because it's just such a dense read. I didn't hate it though. I was alert and into the story. Credit to Chris Claremont's writing. I'm becoming a fan of Chris Claremont. Now, he's already, one of the greatest issues I've ever read of all time is the most sold comic book of all time, X-Men 1. I came into this series already a fan of Chris Claremont, but now I'm going back and I'm reading what he wrote in the 80s. kind of the rise of Chris Claremont's type of stuff, and I really like the way he writes comic books. He definitely seems to be a fan of old noir movies, like a Dirty Harry, or even older, like The Maltese Falcon. I can't remember. Humphrey Bogart. There we go. That kind of stuff, and I'm down with it because I like that kind of stuff too. Yeah, I'm real interested to see where Roundhouse and Bloodsport go. I really want to see Wolverine and Roundhouse square off again. I don't know how they're going to take care of Bloodsport. I don't know what kind of adversary they're dealing with. One thing I like about this issue, and again, Chris Claremont's writing, he's not giving everything away. We still don't know too terribly much about Roundhouse and Bloodsport. I'm not even so sure they're mutants, but they just come across like mutants. And that really, the fact that he's not giving everything away, he just kind of setting the scene, kind of creating the ambiance for issue 5, is really getting me invested in this arc. I think so far, I like this arc a little more than the first arc. However, that comes with a caveat, because I've gotten 3 issues of Jessica Drew and Lindsay McCabe. That kind of helps. We've gotten a previous story with Wolverine, so part of the journey to get here, the issues that came before in issue 4, kind of helps the enjoyment of issue 4. I don't know if I'd love it as much if it were issue 1. The art, John Buscema, again, just fantastic art. He can't miss. I think he's perfect for this style of book. I don't know if Marvel told Buscema to write on this book, or if Chris Claremont employed Buscema, pushed for Buscema to be his artist. But either way, I think Buscema's art just fit, and then the colorist as well. All the pages where Wolverine snuck into the Sovereign Hotel were done in very dark colors. I don't even know if there was more than 1 or 2 colors in that entire page, that entire scene, which I thought was really cool, because you're taken to the next page where we're at the bazaar and it's full of colors. So I really, the art specifically stood out to me, this specific issue, and the coloring. Really liked the use of the colors and the lighting, and there's just so much ambiance in this issue, and I really like that. I don't do grades for those of you who may be new to the channel, new to these videos. Just another excellent issue and a great series. I'm looking forward to issue 5, guys. Thank you again for liking, subscribing, and watching my content. It's always much appreciated. And until next time.